We can't ignore these guys, okay?
Now you just made me hungry and I'm jealous because I missed the food the most while I was over there. But enough about the food. Let's see the spice that's going into your dish, Grandin, as we go ahead and jump into our draft. And starting things off for TrueShot, we are going to see the Jhin once again getting locked in. But there you go. There's that dirty Lee Sin as well as the Jinx getting locked in for Team Volley.
Yeah, we talked about how we hopefully see something good coming in that first pick. Jhin, I can appreciate that pickup because of how well it ran the first game. That being said, that might be a little bit of an issue because Lee Sin's going to be picked up. Akali, likely choice as well. You could go for something like that Zed, and Jhin doesn't generally do that well against these assassins, lacks the mobility, needs some kind of Q, some kind of CC, and when you have to draft for something like that, that takes away from potential options you could go for. Things like the Blitzcrank, like the Alistar, those options are gone because you have to have Q for the Jhin. This means that Soraka, the Janna, champions like this that are able to provide some safety and shielding to Jhin don't necessarily have the best kind of engage, the best tankiness that could be what TrueShot are missing.
Well, I'm interested here because we already see a lot of pick potential coming out here. You have the Charm from the Ahri. You now have a Blitzcrank getting locked in. On top of that, you have pretty much the definition of lockdown when it comes outside of Camille in this Vi pickup for the jungle, most likely, which for this Jinx, it's going to be a rough time where you kind of have to try and get yourself back over to safety, but we'll have to see how things are going to be panning out. Again, like we mentioned, TrueShot taking on Volley. It's Thailand versus Vietnam. And we'll see whether or not Volley can continue such a dominating performance here in Group A, or do we see TrueShot pick up their first victory of the night?
Once again, Volley are the predators in an enclosure with the rest of these teams, and it's up to TrueShot to find the killing blow, to try and tame this animal, because it's going to be a tough one. They went for the Blitzcrank pickup in the end, gives them a little bit of a chance to maybe get some picks, to hopefully be able to translate some mid-game fights that could otherwise have been bad against them into something in their favor. But I have I suspect that there's a good chance a lot of pressure is going to be applied onto Frozen Kiss. Very difficult for this Jhin to respond to a number of these threats. A lot of this game is about call and responses. The call from Team Volley is just saying, I'm going to kill your Jhin, I'm going to kill your damage source. The response from TrueShot should be, well, I'm going to protect my Jhin. Or you could say, I'm going to create an equal threat. And it looks like they're going to go for equal threat over responding to the kill.
Oh, we'll have to see here is, that's just a screenshot of what happened previously in the last Volley game, where it was 20-5 overall. So to say the very least, maybe we get to see a change of pace. Who knows?
Oh, I know what this is, Opal. This is, those pictures, moments before disaster.
Disaster already struck. This is after disaster, but in we go. Once more on board with Frozen Kiss to start things off, as it's going to be a red buff start for that Vi, and I'm very much interested. Are we going to see a similar, Lee Sin performance that we saw in the third match of our day, or are they going to be able to find a way to shut down, say, also this bot lane that, Misty, they were able to go so off during that last game where we saw, I think it was a quadra, almost another penta. Oh boy, it's going to be, we'll see whether or not TrueShot can weather the storm nonetheless.
Want to talk a little bit about this start that we see over into the bot side. Frozen Kiss comes into lane a little bit late, but manages to pick up all the CS and all the EXP, and this is a pretty big deal because had they had the side of Team Volley opted to try and deny the wave, so they don't hit the minions at all, they don't start throwing their minions at all, there's a good chance that the enemy minions from side of TrueShot would have killed one of the minions over on the end of Team Volley. And this means a big gap in EXP, because Giant also came to lane much later afterwards.
Oh jeez, we just cut on back there to Frozen's POV, and you saw a little bit of aggression coming out. That's going to be the heal being used, as well as the honey fruit having to be used as well to keep that Jhin nice and safe. But that's kind of the issue, Grandin, is if you're a Blitzcrank going into an Alistar matchup, Alistar says, thank you very much for hooking me on in. It means I don't have to use my headbutt to get into range into your carry.
Yeah, it's an easy setup for the Alistar. And at the same time, the Blitzcrank could potentially pull the Alistar away from the AD carry, but then you just run into the issue where the Blitzcrank doesn't have any escape spells either, so you gotta jump from one threat to the other. Well, that's an early TF ultimate.
Oh, TF ultimate, but right on the unlock, it is level 5 being used, and there you go. Team Volley able to pick up the first kill of the game with a nice roam coming out from the mid lane.
Interesting choice. We weren't really expecting to see much Twisted Fate being played this competition. I mean, Twisted Fate in general is a little bit more difficult of a champion because a lot less impact in the way that you use your spells and a lot more in terms of how you understand the game, what your priorities are going to be, how to control your lane management, and then being able to rotate off of that. It's a difficult champion to play, especially if you haven't played a lot of the game. So that was one of the few picks that I was suspecting would be played the least, not because it was weak, but just because of the sheer difficulty of it in order to execute it well. So being able to pick this up, and looks like they've managed to run it pretty decently. I do like the fact that over on the side of TrueShot, they're at least running the Ahri, and Ahri has great wave clear, which is one of the biggest issues that Twisted Fate is going to face, right? He has decent wave clear, but definitely not as good as an Ahri's. So if Ahri has some assistance from the jungler and focuses on clearing waves, the Twisted Fate can become quite invalidated.
Well, I want to just point out one thing there. You mentioned that, but to be honest, that's already... Oh, that's a very aggressive invade coming out from the Lee Sin. Over the wall they kind of go. They want to see if they can finish off this kill. It's looking a bit dire. Able to get some honey fruit, and now we get to go on board with Jay, who able to get that knock up, forces out the flash. They're trying to hunt down this Twisted Fate. It's going to be the stun right there, and it looks like that's going to be it. As meanwhile, the re-engage coming out from the Lee Sin, able to find the kill onto the Vi, and now Alistar onto that front line, trying to do what he can, but now Frozen Kiss looking to hunt down this cow, looking for some veal, going to flash on forward. The heal comes out though, and they can't finish off the kill, and now, unfortunately, that's going to be that, as it's just going to be a trade for 1-for-1.
Jay's out of mana, can't pursue this kill, so they lose out. If you ask me, it looks like TrueShot lose out on this fight because now they've lost his bot wave. Mid lane wasn't in a good position. Sure, they managed to get a little bit of control around the riverside, but all said and done, it's a big loss of Frozen Kiss. Frozen Kiss, the primary carry, is where they need the goal to be. If they lose out time to get her a hit, they are going to start facing some issues.
What I do like to see, though, from Team TrueShot is the fact that they have been able to, and for all purposes, able to actually hold their ground up against this aggression. But you do see, again, roams coming out nonstop here. Destiny's going to be popped, just trying to threaten a possible play on a side lane. But that alone is enough to force a lot of TrueShot to back off.
Good damage over to the bot side.
Oh, they're going to keep on going. That's going to be Curtain Call, and it's Curtains for the Alistar. In comes the Vi as well. 4-shot, not going to land there from Frozen Kiss. And actually, it's a trade back kill. The Zap is able to do it. Bouncing grenade, almost finds the kill. One more shot will do it. Deadly Flourish comes out. Not able to finish off the kill, though, on the Jinx. And now Frozen Kiss. Oh, she may have went a little bit too far, and that's going to be the kill back on over. Super Mega Death Rocket also piling on the kills. And it's another double kill for the Lee Sin.
Great movement coming in from the team. They managed to stack up a lot of damage where it was necessary. Now they can rotate over to the Dragon, get this pickup. At the same time, Ahri has had difficulty pushing in the mid wave. Musong has done such a good job of controlling the lane, controlling the wave, that Ahri is now so late to the fight. She wasn't able to join in. She wasn't able to prevent the Dragon pickup at all. This is a big concern. If Ahri isn't able to maintain wave control against the Twisted Fate, then nobody can. And so now it's up to Team TrueShot to figure out how they want to deploy their manpower, deploy ranks, in order to keep this Twisted Fate at bay. Sure, he wasn't that impactful in that fight directly, but you have to understand that Destiny before that led up to that fight because now you knew where everybody else was on the map. They knew for certainty that TrueShot did not have additional assistance. There was no way that they were going to be able to defend Frozen Kiss there.
You saw there maybe a rotate going up toward this bot side, as that's going to be the knock up. The poor Blitzcrank underneath the tower, able to get himself back to safety. In comes that Deadly Flourish. Super Mega Death Rocket does not find a kill, and now the Zap is going to land. The exhaust was there. Flash is burned left and right, and guess what? It's that Twisted Fate once more. Curtain Call going to be used, but unfortunately, health bar is maybe a little bit too healthy, and that's going to be 4-shot connecting, but not finding the kill, as the Alistar is able to limp away. Meanwhile, we saw Akali on the top side finds one kill and forces that Olaf to back off underneath tower.
Good pickup for the first kill. Gets the first turret as well, but transitioning this into the next step is going to be difficult. Like we mentioned, Frozen Kiss is going to be a champion. is playing a champion that has difficulty dishing out consistent damage. A lot of the time, you have to be concerned about the potential engage the enemy has. So you're playing backwards. You're on the back foot. You don't have the range to really dish out that kind of damage. So you rely on the curtain call. You rely on the deadly flourish. Those things only do so much damage at once.
There you go. That's going to be a kill going on over to the Jhin. And without a tower, actually, this bot lane pretty far forward. Shots are going to come on through. Should be able to finish it off here. Looks like the Blitzcrank is going to have to secure. Deadly Flourish comes out. Not able to connect. But like we mentioned, that rocket grab will seal the fate of the Alistar. And unfortunately there, we saw Musang not able to get over in time with that Twisted Fate. And here we go. Bot lane of TrueShot starting to pick up pace.
Really good transition to move away from trying to get the jungler hit to playing entirely around this bot side. So kind of ignoring any issues the jungler might have. And it looks pretty indicative of that, right? Vi so far hasn't had that much assistance in terms of what she's doing. She's kind of been given the free reign to choose in this side. Mid lane having a fight breaking out though.
That's pretty aggressive coming out here from the Lee Sin. Over the wall they go. The Akali gets grabbed mid-dash. Underneath the tower, under they go, and able to find the kill. Not able to finish off with the curtain call. Super Mega Death Rocket also going to connect. Frozen Kiss has to be careful here as Rift Herald is popped. And that should be this mid lane tower going down, as unfortunately they just don't have the wave clear.
Lacking wave clear, Jhin does have pretty decent means to try to delay this push, but it's definitely going to be difficult with the Rift Herald. They have to find some other way. Flashing forward with the
That's aggressive.
Looking for the kill.
That's very aggressive, but they're not able to finish it off. In comes the Olaf, though. Misty going hyper aggressive, gets the excited, and there you go. Has the move speed to get over to safety, but that is the second tier tower in mid lane, just barely surviving. So another opportunity here for the side of Volley to maybe open up the midsection of the map, but you do see TrueShot able to punish some of this over aggression. And so far, so good. It is not as a dominating win here at the moment for the side of Volley. Still some work to do. But in comparison, TrueShot putting up a lot more of an effort than what we saw from Team Phoenix in match 3 of the day. The thing that you always have to be worrying about is just the amount of roams we are seeing from this mid lane. Granted, and you said it best, this Twisted Fate, always able to apply side pressure. The other thing I want to note too, is they've been able to maintain an experience lead this entire time, even with the amount of roams we've been seeing from this Twisted Fate.
Yeah, that's been a very forgiving thing in Wild Rift, right? It's much more about being able to rotate and be at the right places because EXP isn't too much of an issue. You can catch up quite reasonably with the rebound mechanic in the game. So even if the opponents are at a decent level, you can at least maintain equal. In fact, sometimes you could even go above and beyond. That's an interesting hook going forward, but at least they might be able to find this.
There's your Shroud, though. Able to get out to safety. They also took down the Vi. Super Mega Death Rocket also going to connect, and now that's the Twisted Fate on the front foot, but maybe wants to back off there as there were 3 members just around the corner. Meanwhile, though, the Olaf has been able to take down the tower as well. And man, still going here as they're able to catch out that Lee Sin. So in the end, it does look like Volley are going to lose a member or 2, but they were able to secure the second dragon of the game.
Yeah, Volley definitely going to be happy with that trade-off. I mean, ideally, they wouldn't have lost Lee Sin at all. But if they had to make a trade, the jungler for the dragon, they are perfectly okay with this. Moving forward, you have to if you take a quick look at the compositions, right? TrueShot has a difficult time picking out Baron, whereas on the side of Volley, they have a pretty decent time. They could look to try and go for an early Baron and sneak that away if they can apply some pressure in the other lanes, especially with the Destiny use. You can start to detect where the enemy team might be. And so if they can start applying some pressure over into the Dragon lanes, maybe we can see a pretty quick sneak away of the Baron.
We'll have to see if that's actually going to be the call here, though. It looks like for the side of TrueShot, being a bit conservative. They themselves just want to maintain vision, like you mentioned. We do see a little blip coming up there. The Akali may be caught out here. We're going to see Shroud is going to be coming out, but no gets silenced and gets just dropped immediately. Dragon's Rage able to find multiple knockups. The TrueShot coming in from the side of Thailand.
I love that.
I love
TrueShot. This TrueShot had perfect clarity on what they needed to do in that instance. Right? They recognized that Baron was a potential threat that Team Volley could go for. Wow, great grab.
Jai been pretty on point when it comes to these hooks, but now Curtain Call is going to be popped here as they want to try and get what they can. In comes the down damage, in comes the kick possibly from the Lee Sin. The knockup is there, and they still can't finish off Frozen Kiss. Goes into stasis, trying to do what they can, but unfortunately the Jin will be popped down out of the Guardian Angel. We'll see if they can survive. The case is they can. Can they find two? They will, as there you go. The rest of the team pilot fourth, but it's a triple kill on over to the Twisted Fate, and now Destiny going to be popped, seeing if they can cut off the retreat path for this squad. In the end, that is going to be that, as the Blitzcrank able to walk away to safety.
What a fight starter. Being able to consistently land these hooks continues to be the biggest threat that Team TrueShot could possibly find, right? Volley, they understood that they were supposed to go for the Baron play, set their Akali up topside. TrueShot recognized this potential threat, sends their team up to catch off the Akali, and it's from there, with the Baron up, they were about their positioning and they were threatening for a potential Baron pickup, realized that it might be a little bit too risky, so they opt to go for the mid lane instead. Gets a good pickup, gets a good fight to begin with, but the Jin, like we mentioned, has its issues getting away from major threats, getting away from these big fights. Goes Golden, uses the Hourglass, even has a GA, I believe. But at that point, just isn't enough because you need your team alive. You need them there. If your team's already dead by the time your GA goes off, what's it supposed to do?
Ooh. Jay ended up hooking a random minion. It looks like it was a misfire there. That's a little unfortunate. Now going into the 1v1 into the brush. That is going to be the Lee Sin jumping away. The Akali able to find the target. And there you go. The Jin's going to get taken down. And one of your main damage carries, unfortunately, once that's gone, you do not have a lot of options here for the side of TrueShot. Is again, this Twisted Fate is all over the map. And they're able to find themselves multiple kills once more. It is the ace close to coming through on the side of Team Volley.
You know, this was the fear that I was concerned about. This was the issue that I highlighted when I said you have to pick a support that could potentially protect your AD carry because you have so many targets that could just jump on and try to kill off the Jin. And Jin being your main carry, it's something you have to watch out.
They're not stopping. That looks like it's going to be the game here. That's going to be, of course, what they can try and do. But in the end, Volley able to finish out the game pre-15 minutes and looking dominating here in Group A.
A beautiful game from Volley from start to finish. They managed to work around their strengths. TrueShot brought more to the table this game than the first game, but continued to fall short just ever so slightly. They have to kind of review their strategy a little bit, right? They're definitely playing. They definitely have the idea there, but it's lacking in execution.
The idea is there, but Volley a lot more in sync than what I think a lot of people were expecting, and I think there's just some individual skill gaps coming on through where, you know, some people are just a little bit more experienced when it comes to Wild Rift, and overall, they look like the best team now in Group A, especially after that. We'll say for TrueShot, they were able to keep the game rather close early on, but once that Twisted Fate started to go around the map with the Destiny, it was pretty much all downhill from there.
Yeah, if you guys have any predictions for our next game, because TrueShot versus Volley, it's come and gone. The game went over to Volley. Now let's take a look at our next match. Starcall versus Marshall. If you guys have any votes or any predictions for that match, scan the QR code and join in this prediction. I think we both know which team we voted for, right, Opal?
Well, like, again, I feel like if I don't vote for Singapore, there's a lot of people that I know in Singapore and the office to be like, Alex, what are you doing? Come on now. You got to get that right prediction in there. But again, that's the game afterwards. Let's again focus currently on the game that we just watched here. And I have to actually wonder, like, you know, where do you actually strike up against Volley at this point? Because again, they seem to just have multiple threats. You had the Akali in the side lane that was able to find her target again and again. You had this Twisted Fate all over the place. And we'll be able to see some of that in our highlight package from our previous game being match 5 on the day, where again, unfortunately, there just wasn't a whole lot we could see come out, and the question becomes, how do you stop this team?
Yeah, we had a few key considerations going into this game, right? The first being, how do you protect the Jin? Jin is a big threat, has tons of damage, maybe a little bit different in terms of being a hyper carry compared to somebody like Jinx, like a more traditional hyper carry, AD carry, but still, tons of damage available. How do you protect this AD carry then? Well, I suggested that it had to be something like maybe like a Janna to protect the Jin. Instead, they opted the Blitzcrank, which had its moments, but you can see as we went further and further into the game, there were just too many threats. They were too strong. Easily able to kill off Frozen Kiss means that their primary damage source is gone. Secondly, they really had to control the mid lane. Like you mentioned, once the Destiny was up, the pace of the game went entirely different, right? Team Volley just had so much control because they were able to rotate and they didn't lose much off of it. So Ari really had to focus on clearing waves quickly and pushing in the turret, punishing them for making those decisions. But overall, I would say that the effort was there, the intention was there, but perhaps just a few champion choices might want to be reconsidered. Apart from that, I think the mechanics were pretty in place.
Yeah, the mechanics are there, but overall, it's Volley that are going to be able to take home the victory. And like we mentioned, that was a fast one. That was a sub 15-minute game coming out. And overall MVP from the game side, it is going to be that Twisted Fate. I would agree with that, and I hope in production agreed, because Musang was all over the map once he had the Destiny, and it's very hard to deal with it.
Has had great pressure around the map, but I also want to give credit over to the Akali because had a lot of great moments as well. You know, those times where she would jump in, stall for time. There was an instance where playing around the Baron side had to get hooked over the wall in order to protect the Baron, was still able to stay alive. And it's those kind of small things, right? Where it's not just about getting kills and making plays, it's also about staying alive and being able to stall for time where your team is resetting or they're looking for different ways that, or looking for opportunities to look for plays elsewhere.
I'll take a look on over to the damage, and there you go. Unfortunately, like, Frozen Kiss, 26,000 damage in only a 15-minute game, highest in the game. Fortunately, it's just not enough. So at that point, not a whole lot that could be done. And yeah, you need a second threat on the map, it seems, for TrueShot here. Or maybe he fights around when the Jhin is in stasis or is within the Zhonya. So we'll see what the case is going to be. But meanwhile, on the side of Team Volley, of course, you had that Twisted Fate. You also have the Jinx, which we didn't see as prevalent in this game as much as we did back in match 3, but still a massive threat.
Yeah, you just have to kind of temper these issues, right? That's what day one is kind of for. You play a bunch of matches, you go into day 2 and you go, all right, these are the issues that we faced. We know that we lose against these type of compositions. If you look at the gold graph, things really started to change around that 3.5-minute mark, because at that point, we started seeing the Destiny become available, and you know, the Twisted Fate was just so prevalent in the map. They managed to get the Dragon, they got Rift Herald, and all that good stuff. Again, if TrueShot want to maintain the strategy that they're going for, which is just playing around Frozen Kiss as the Jhin, they have to start considering going for champions that perhaps have less agency, but with a little bit more utility.
And there you go, MVP. Of course, it's going to be Musang on the Twisted Fate. X is the spot here. There is no passing. There is no entrance when going up against them in the mid lane on the Twisted Fate. 9-0-4. Again, all our KDAs of our MVPs have been perfect here so far, to my recollection so far on today. So we'll see who's going to have the first not perfect KDA, I guess, taking home an MVP.
You can't put them in a spot like that.
I'm just saying, no one's had a non-perfect KDA.